Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something beautiful. When a man can't stop thinking about you, it's not just about attraction. It's not just about the way you look when you laugh or how your voice softens when you speak. It's something deeper, something magnetic. When a man can't stop thinking about you, it's not just because of your smile, your walk, or the way you wear your hair. Yes, those things may catch his attention at first. They may spark that initial glance or ignite a fleeting heartbeat. But what keeps you lingering in his mind goes far beyond the surface. It's not just how you look, it's how you are. It's the way you make him feel without even trying. It's the sound of your voice when you speak with passion, the fire in your eyes when you talk about your dreams, the way you listen, truly listen when he opens up. There's a certain gravity in your presence, something unexplainable that draws him in and refuses to let go. It's not lust, it's resonance. It's the recognition of something rare, something real. He sees you as more than just a momentary spark. He sees you as someone who lights up rooms without trying to impress, someone whose energy can't be replicated or replaced. And that kind of connection doesn't fade once the moment ends. It deepens, lodges itself into the fabric of his thoughts, and quietly grows louder with time. He doesn't think of you just because you're beautiful. He thinks of you because your essence moves him in ways beauty alone never could. It's in the stillness that your presence becomes the loudest. When the world slows to a whisper, when the noise of the day dies down, when the lights dim and the city breathes in silence, that's when you rise in his thoughts. Like the moon over calm waters, you become the soundtrack to his solitude. As he lies in bed staring at the ceiling or sits in a cafe alone with his coffee cooling in his hands, it's not the headlines or deadlines that fill his mind, it's you. You appear like a gentle echo, like a memory he didn't even know he stored, suddenly playing on repeat. It could be something small, the way you once glanced up and smiled mid-conversation, the way you laughed when you were caught off guard, or the subtle warmth in your goodbye. These moments, quiet, fleeting, have taken root in him. In those spaces where most people fade, you remain. Your energy lingers like the scent of something sweet long after it's gone. And in those quiet hours, when there's nothing to distract him, nothing to chase or perform for, he finds himself reaching for the comfort of a thought. You're not just a passing idea, your presence, felt most strongly when everything else is still, when everything around him feels like it's falling apart, when work becomes a storm, when responsibilities pile up like mountains, when the noise of the world becomes unbearable. It's not escape he seeks, it's you. Your memory becomes his anchor in the chaos, the one calm thought he can return to when everything else spins out of control. He doesn't always say it, and he may not even fully realize it, but you're the breath he takes in the middle of the whirlwind, in the middle of deadlines, traffic, heated meetings, and all the demands that life throws his way. There are moments, just a second or two, when he closes his eyes and you come to mind. Maybe it's the image of your face when you were lost in thought, or the softness of your voice when you once told him everything would be okay. It's not even necessarily a full memory. Sometimes it's just the feeling of you, that quiet confidence you carry, that warmth you gave without asking for anything in return. In a world that constantly pulls him in 100 directions, you are the one thought that grounds him. You represent peace, not just passion. You bring him back to center, not with noise, but with presence. And the crazy thing is, you may not even realize it. You may not know how often he reaches for your memory, not out of longing alone, but because in a world full of chaos, you are the one thing that makes sense. Every word you've spoken to him is like a note in a song he can't stop playing. He replays your conversations in his mind, not just for the content, but for the feeling they gave him. The way you spoke, the pauses between your thoughts, the way your eyes lit up when you talked about something you cared about. He remembers your phrasing, the little quirks in your speech, the softness or strength in your tone. Even if the world around him forgets what you said, he doesn't. Your words have a shelf life in his memory because to him they mattered. They weren't just small talk. They were glimpses into who you are. And your presence, that's something else entirely. It's not just that you were physically near him, it's how the energy in the room shifted when you entered. You didn't have to try to impress or entertain. Just being there changed the way he felt. There was a comfort in your presence, like finding a familiar melody in an unfamiliar place. You made things feel lighter without forcing anything. He noticed things you didn't think anyone saw. The way you tucked your hair behind your ear when you were nervous. The way you leaned in when you were fully engaged. The way your laugh could change the temperature of an entire room. These aren't just details to him, they're keepsakes. He stores them like treasures, quietly and carefully, because they remind him of who you are. Not the polished version, but the real one, the one that made him feel seen, heard, and understood without saying much at all. In the quiet corners of his mind, he's constantly questioning, do you think of him too? It's not a desperate thought, but a tender curiosity that keeps returning like waves touching the shore. He wonders if your heart stirs when you hear his name, if your chest tightens a little when something reminds you of him. Maybe you pass a place you once shared. Maybe you hear a song that played while he was near, and maybe, just maybe, it makes you pause. He hopes there are moments in your day when he crosses your mind the way you constantly cross his. It doesn't have to be dramatic. He's not asking for grand gestures, but he wonders if, in your stillness, he exists, even briefly. Does your heart remember him the way his remembers you? Do you ever pick up your phone and consider sending a message but stop yourself like he does? He replays past exchanges, looking for signs, clues, any small indication that your silence holds unspoken thoughts. He overanalyzes your pauses, your goodbyes, your laughter, your distance, wondering if it all hides something deeper. He tries to read between the lines of your last words, hoping to find himself tucked away in your uncertainty. And though he respects your space, though he never demands your attention, he silently longs for some sign that what he feels isn't just one-sided, that somehow, in your own way, you're holding on to something too. Because when someone means that much, when they take up that much space in your mind, it's only human to hope they reserve a corner of theirs for you too. You didn't just pass through his life, you stayed, even without trying. Long after the conversations ended, long after the moments you shared faded into memory, a part of you remained, etched into the core of who he is. It wasn't something he planned for. It wasn't a matter of timing or intention. It was effortless, unintentional. There's a certain kind of connection that doesn't just visit, it mocks you. And that's exactly what you did to him. You left fingerprints on places no one else could touch. There are things he now feels, things he now notices that he never did before you. It could be the way he listens more closely, or how certain songs suddenly mean more. It might be the way he's reminded of you by the simplest things, an inside joke, a phrase you used often, a scent that takes him back to the last time you stood close enough to touch. But it goes deeper than memories. You've altered his emotional landscape. Where there was once indifference or distraction, there is now awareness, depth, vulnerability. He found himself opening up in ways he didn't expect, trusting you with pieces of himself he never handed over easily. And now, even in your absence, you're still part of his internal dialogue. You changed something in him, not temporarily, but permanently. You made an impression that time hasn't erased and no one else is matched. The heart doesn't hold on to everyone, but it holds on to you, because what you brought into his life wasn't fleeting. It was formative. It mattered. It still matters. Even when he moves through his day like everything's normal, smiling at strangers, handling work, making plans, you live in the background of his thoughts like a quiet but constant hum. You become part of his inner world, the private space that no one else sees. And in that space, you're not just a fleeting thought. You're a presence, a living, breathing part of his mental landscape. He thinks about things he never says aloud. What it'll be like to hear you laugh in the morning, to share little moments that don't matter to anyone else but feel enormous to the two of you. He imagines scenarios, some real, some dreamed, like bumping into you unexpectedly or hearing from you out of nowhere. Sometimes he plays out entire conversations in his head, not because he's rehearsing, but because in those imagined moments, you're still close. It's not that he's obsessed, it's that you become a reference point. When he sees something beautiful, he wonders what you think of it. When he learns something new, you're the person he imagines telling. When something makes him laugh, you're the one he wishes was there to share it with. In his mind, you become someone he checks in with, even if only internally. That space you occupy isn't crowded with others. It's yours alone, carved out without effort, held in place by memory, feeling, and something he can't quite name. You're not just someone he once knew, you're someone he continues to know, even in silence, even in distance. Because the truth is, some people don't just come and go, they stay, quietly shaping the world inside us without ever asking for permission. You may not realize it, how deeply your existence has shifted his. It's easy to underestimate the power you hold when you're simply being yourself. But to him, your presence carries weight. Not the kind that burdens, but the kind that anchors, inspires, and lingers. You have a gravity to you, a force that pulls him back, even when he tries to distract himself with the noise of the world. He finds pieces of you in places you've never been, in conversations with others that fall flat because they don't echo your depth, in smiles that don't feel as warm, in silence that doesn't feel as safe. You've unknowingly raised the bar, not just for who he's drawn to, but for how he wants to feel, how he wants to connect. Your influence lives in the little ways he's changed, the way he pays attention to things more closely now, the way he holds on to meaning instead of letting it slip away. You've become a quiet standard in his mind, someone who reminding him that emotional connection isn't just possible, it's necessary. You shifted something in him, not with force, but with authenticity. Without trying to impress, you left an impression. Without asking for anything, you gave him something to hold on to. And now, whether you're near or far, silent or speaking, your presence still echoes through his decisions, his thoughts, his desires. He carries you with him, not out of obligation, but because your impact was never something he could just set down or forget. You became part of his internal compass, shaping how he sees the world, how he hopes. So if you ever wonder whether you mattered, whether you left a trace, let me be clear. You did. You do. You are not just a fleeting thought or a passing phase. You are the quiet force behind his reflection, the steady rhythm in his thoughts, the warmth he holds on to when the world feels cold. He may never say it aloud. He may keep it guarded, tucked behind pride or distance or time. But make no mistake, he can't stop thinking about you because you touched a part of him that few ever reach. And once someone reaches that deep, they don't disappear. They live there quietly, permanently. Sometimes love doesn't shout. Sometimes it simply stays.